We are from FIN542 3C. We would like to present about factors affecting exchange rate of India. Let us introduce ourselves first.
My name is Hazilan Sharmini Betijani.
I am Nur Syuhada Anissa binti Ahmad.
Hi, my name is Nur Atika binti Azhar.
My name is Nur Aina Akila Muhammad Ali.
India is the second most populous country, the seventh largest country by the land area, and the most populous democracy in the world. India has emerged as the fastest growing major economy in the world, and is expected to be one of the top three of economic powers in the world, backed by robust democracy and strong partnership. The currency for India is India rupee. The India rupee, which was on the par with the American currency at the time of independence in 1947, has depreciated by a little more than 68 times against the greenback in the past 67 years. On 28 August 2013, the India rupee has gone down to an all-time low of 68.83 against the US dollar. This becomes severe in the past few years, affecting major economic data, including growth, inflation, trade, and investment. Dash has discussed and mentioned that the relationship between interest rates and exchange rates in India. He stated that based on the Mundo-Fleming models, increased interest rate helps stabilize exchange rate depreciations.
The next is exchange rate. Exchange rate refers to the price of a nation's currency in terms of another nation's country. Exchange rates is important factors to determine the country's economic condition because lower currency rate makes its export cheaper and higher make it expensive. The Indian rupee, which was on a par with the American currency at the time of independence in 1947, has depreciated by a little more than 68 times against the greenback in the past 67 years. On 2013, the Indian rupee had gone down to an all-time low of 68.825 against the US dollar. This volatility becomes severe in the past few years, affecting major macroeconomic data including growth, inflation, trade, and investment. The Indian rupee averaged Rs 74.102 US dollar in 2020. In 2021, the Indian economy is expected to make a strong recovery to help the rupee.
Next is the factor affecting exchange rate in India. Our four factors, which is inflation rate, interest rate, oil price, and also gross domestic product (GDP). Next, we move to the another part, which is analysis in this study. The table illustrated the descriptive statistic for all the macroeconomic variables analyzed in this study. Each variable has 20 sets of data which represent annual statistics for 20 years. Exchange rate means indicate the value of Indian rupee on an average is 52.7738 for every US dollar. Likewise, the average for the interest rate by the government sum up to 28.8612. The GDP total to 1.71614 plus 12. Meanwhile, the minimum average for inflation rate is 2.5 and the maximum is 12.0. Besides, the average for inflation rate is 6.435 for every US dollar. Therefore, the average for oil price total to 64.5050.
For the model summary, interest rate of the distribution square is 0.939, which show that 93.9% of the variation exchange rate variability is explained by inflation rate, gross domestic product (GDP), OPEC oil price, and interest rate. Adjusted R square is 0.923, which show that 92.3% of the variation exchange rate variability. Dependent variable is likely to be explained by independent variable. ANOVA, analysis of variance, is a statistical technique to analyze variation in a response variable, continuous random variable, measured under condition defined by discrete factors, classification variable often with nominal levels. Frequently, we use ANOVA to test quality among several means by comparing variance among groups relative to variance within groups. Based on this table, the result, the sum of square is 1695.505 for regression, whereas for residual is 109.272, so the total sum of square is 1804.777. For the differential of regression is 4, residual is 15 and total difference is 19. The mean square of regression is 423.876 and for residual is 7.285.
The next is correlation. Correlation is a statistic that measures the degree to which two or more variables to discover if there is a relationship between two variables and how strong the relationship may be. A positive correlation happens when one variable increase or decrease as the other variable increase or decrease. A negative correlation is a relationship between two variables in which an increase in one variable is associated with a decrease in the other. Next, for the correlation table, we can see the GDP have a positive relationship with OPEC oil and negative relationship with interest rate. The significant level is 0.373, which below than 5% that can be said as accepted. Next, interest rate show the negative relationship with exchange rate, GDP, inflation rate and OPEC oil. The significant level is 0.001, which also below the 5% that can be said as accepted. Then inflation rate show the positive relationship with OPEC price and negative relationship with exchange rate. The significant level is 0.001, which also below the 5% and can be said as accepted.
The coefficients describe the mathematical relationship between each independent variable and dependent variable. The coefficient analysis data for gross domestic product (GDP) is 0.000, while for the interest rate is 0.280, for OPEC oil price is 0.047, and inflation rate is 0.325.
In conclusion, the study has analyzed that the factor affecting the exchange rate of India has effect by interest rate, GDP, oil price and inflation. In India, exchange rate has been high volatile due to many factors such as fluctuation in interest rate between countries, inflation, oil price and others. It states that FDI has the impact the exchange rate fluctuation, but inflation interest rates has short-term relationship with the exchange rate in India.